right, so thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Marketing 101 for Dental Professionals, Harnessing the Power of Modern Tools. This is brought to you by Intiveo and Great Dental Websites. Joining us for the webinar is Jeff Gladnick, founder and CEO of Great Dental Websites, and Josh DeVries, CEO at Intiveo. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent to all registrant inboxes in the next 24 hours. If you're having any trouble with audio, try refreshing your browser and make sure the volume on your computer is turned up. If at any point during the webinar you have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A box on your screen. We'll get to as many of them as we can at the end of the webinar. All right, so let's go ahead and introduce Jeff Gladnick, founder and CEO of Great Dental Websites.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Gladnick. I started this company about 17 years ago to help the dentists in my family, like my dad, get a website and do online marketing. And today we work with about 950 practices around the US, Canada, and Australia.
Thank you. And Josh over at Intiveo.
Hey, I'm Joshua DeVries. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Intiveo. We are a patient engagement specialist for healthcare professionals. We have about 3,000 offices using our practice. And fun fact is 1 in 5 oral surgeon offices use our practice today. So I hope to share some of the best practices and techniques that we've been implementing for the 12 years that we've been serving dental offices across North America.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. So we are going to go through the agenda very quickly. We're going to be talking about the role of patient management and marketing strategies, defining your target market, showcasing your brand, measuring patient satisfaction, and then switching over to how to use that information to help your on-site SEO, how social reviews help your SEO efforts, a little bit on paid search, and then we have the question and answer section. All right, so Josh, I am going to hand this over to you, and we're going to start off with patient engagement in a digital dental brand strategy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Annalise, for that wonderful introduction. So yeah, the role of patient engagement in a dental brand strategy, exciting stuff. So patient engagement is super key. If you engage with your patients, they are going to want to be partners in their healthcare. It means they're going to keep coming back to your practice. Patients really do want to be informed about their and their family's treatments. And when you do a wonderful job with that experience, they are going to share this experience with their friends, families, and even the referring doctor, if that's applicable. When the treatment is a success, how are you sharing the experience with others? To think of it in a real broad sense, patient engagement is dentistry's version of customer satisfaction. Now, when we talk about patient engagement, there are some critical factors that we have to keep in mind. So there are 4 aspects that we're going to talk about today. We have the personalizations. Patients want all their communication from the practice to be personalized to them and their needs. Let's try not to make our communication feel generic or impersonal. Super important. The next thing we want to focus in on when we're delivering patient engagement is what are the feedback loops? We want to make sure that throughout the customer and the patient journey, we are collecting patient feedback, whether it be KPIs the patient cares about, receiving on time, are you getting online reviews, was there a successful appointment? How are we collecting that feedback and what are we using to continually improve? The next factor we want to talk about is being consistent. We want to make sure that no matter how we communicate and engage with our patients, that is authentic to who we are. Having a consistent brand and message throughout your communication, whether it be your website, your reminders, your in-office experience, or really the experience throughout their entire treatment plan. We want to make sure that it's consistent and that it is maintained throughout the process. And then finally, we want our patients to be informed. Patients want to know what's going on. Why are we completing this treatment? What is the plan following their treatment? And we need to make sure this patient and all of our patients are continually informed throughout the process. So the next thing we're going to talk about here is our target market. And the first question is, why do we even need to identify a target market? Well, the first reason is because it allows us to be more efficient with our resources. Everyone is being forced to do more with less or as much resources as before. This means we need to direct our efforts towards initiatives that will give us the biggest return or have the largest impact with our patients. The second thing we want to keep in mind is we want to try to acquire the best patients for our practice. Let's face it, currently today, there are good patients and bad patients in your practice. The good ones show up on time, they're prepared, they're committed to the treatment that's being completed, and finally, when you wow them, they're willing to share that experience with those around them. The bad ones tend to show up late, they show up not to be prepared, and they tend to never be able to be made happy. When we focus on the patients that we want to attract, we're going to get a better patient base, and we'll also be better at disqualifying patients who are not a good fit for your practice. It's really important to acquire the best ones. It's going to make everything easier. The third thing we're going to talk about is how we can better understand the needs of our patients. All patients want different things. They're unique, they're important, they're special. And we want to make sure we're delivering what they're expecting. Some patients want convenience. Other patients want additional care. Some other patients want something completely else. Understanding why patients choose you and keep delivering on that experience. And then finally, we want to talk about the competition positioning. If you are only focusing on the patients you want to get, let your competitors have the patients you don't want. If you are targeting everyone, you can't target anyone. Knowing who your patients are, why they come to you versus someone else, can help establish a competitive advantage for yourselves and your practices. Now we want to learn about identifying our target markets. Now, the first step in identifying our target market is really understanding who are your patients and what are the services they need. So first thing we want to talk about is who are your patients? What are the services that they're coming in for? Are you a specialist? Do you provide a niche like family dentistry? What types of patients are you attracting? Being very purposeful in answering this question is going to give you more focus and direction on how you can best serve them. The next thing we're going to talk about here is about how can you make your practice stand out from the crowd? Do you take insurance directly? Are you offering digital forms and digital communication? What kind of reputation does your practice have? Fundamentally, there are reasons that patients are choosing you, and knowing what those are and highlighting them is going to help you better serve them versus them being served by a different dentist. How are you differentiating from your patients, from your practice? You know, are you offering additional services like whitening or Botox or Invisalign? Do you offer a better experience by communicating through email, text, and voice messages? Can you allow patients to do more at home rather than coming to the office earlier? Do you have an active networking plan to get referrals from patients or existing GPs? All of these different things are going to help you differentiate yourselves from the market and make yourself stand out. So that's all really super important. Branding your dental practice communications. So showcasing your practice through these 4 things is going to be super important. You know, first and foremost, we talk about is consistency in your brand. Are you friendly, professional, casual? There really isn't a wrong answer, but being consistent and delivering an expected experience through your patient journey is what is important. Be authentic to who you are. If you're professional and right down to business, that's fine. Just make sure it's consistent so you attract patients that value that type of approach. The next thing we're going to talk about is the visual branding. How does your brand, your website, the internal office, and your communications look and feel? Is there a succinct theme that carries throughout the patient journey? These seem like little things, but often build up towards a greater experience and a greater attraction to the patients you want to have. How do you speak to your patients? What is your tone of voice? Are you helpful? Are you an expert? Are you a friend? What is the voice that you want to use? How can it be authentic? And making sure it resonates with the patients you want to attract. And then finally, people are attracted to personalized communication. Patients are being inundated with outreach from their hair salons, their kids, their spouse. Everyone is trying to get their attention. Now, it's really important that patients will respond to communication that is directly for them and not generic ones. We're getting really good at filtering out generic, unimportant messages with all this inundation we're receiving. Patients want the ability to ask questions on their time, in their way. How are you providing that? Are you allowing them to text questions? Do they have to call? No two patients are the same, and it's our responsibility to treat patients as individual and care for them the way they want. Now, there are ways we can deliver personal communication to help improve the patient experience, which drives better outcomes and builds stronger relationships. Now, one of the ways we're going to talk about is through newsletters. This is really good to help keep your patients or your practice top of mind with your patients. Now, this can be used to highlight new treatments that you're providing and the impact to their oral health. It can help you be more present in the community, letting them know about a community event that's going on. It can prompt them to offer a new experience and promote those treatments that bring patients outside of their regular recalls and treatments, whether this be Botox or Invisalign or even teeth whitening. Really helpful ways, there's just constantly staying in front of mind, is through the newsletters. There's other needs. There's going to be NAS notifications. So often this is about keeping patients informed of interruptions or important messages regarding their appointment or the clinic. Now, this is great for office closures, if you have limited parking, or if there's road construction out front. Notifying all your patients at once helps you save time and give the patients the information they need when they need it. The third way is about delivering appointment reminders and really asking yourselves, how do your appointment reminders prepare patients for their treatment? Are they specific to the type of treatment they're receiving? How are they receiving this information? Is it email, text, or voice messages? When you're doing this, you want to think about how many reminders are going out. What is the critical ask within this reminder? Is it, confirm their appointment, fill out that form, take their pre-med, follow their fasting instructions? And then how do we want them to respond? So do we need them to take this action? Do we need them to notify us? But making sure our reminders are purposeful and are designed around the ask that we're looking to have completed is super critical. And then finally, we want to talk about pre-appointment instructions. Obviously, the patient needs to do their part to ensure a successful outcome of their treatment. We need to make sure that patients are fully prepared. We need to make sure that all their forms and prerequisites are completed. And by you helping patients deliver this in a time-effective manner is going to help you stand out from the crowd. It's going to help you have less failed appointments, less late appointments, and overall happier staff and patients. So really important that we think about the personalized communication here. Now, the next question we probably have is, how do we measure patient satisfaction and how can we leverage those results when we're doing a good job? Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is quality of care. You have to be confident as a provider to deliver a patient satisfaction. And I'm going to trust that you already have that covered, but how are you measuring it? The next thing we want to talk about is staff attitude. How does your staff approach your patients? Do your patients feel heard? Do they feel understood? Are they informed about the treatments that are being completed? Is there an opportunity for them to ask questions or to give feedback? Your staff attitude often leaves a lasting impression that is felt well after the treatment has been completed. Communication is also really important. Patient satisfaction lives and dies with communication. Some patients want more, some patients want less. Communication is not a one-size-fits-all, and it needs to be tailored to the types of treatments you're performing and the preference of the patient. And then finally, wait times. Everyone hates waiting. Patients are already nervous about many of the treatments that you're providing, and having to wait in the waiting room just creates anxiety. What can you do to reduce wait times? What is causing additional wait times? Are there ways that you can avoid it or at least communicate delays that patients may see on the day of their treatment? Now, when we go into measuring the patient satisfaction, there are different tools that we can use to help do this effectively. Patient surveys are actually super easy and effective. Whether it's a paper survey in the office with a return label to be mailed back in, whether it be an automated system that is sent to them after their appointment, asking a few questions, or is it just, the receptionist asking how the appointment went while they're checking out? All of these can help you measure satisfaction within your patients in varying differing ways. Now, the great thing about automated systems is because they are now removed from their office and they can deliver truer feedback without the social pressure of being around your staff. Automated systems can often allow you to aggregate, filter, and see trends within your patient satisfaction across your patient database, or even within a specific provider's relationship. The next thing we want to talk about is making sure that we are able to get detailed feedback. Create internal KPIs, key performance indicators, and measure the results every day. Understanding the areas that you are purposely trying to deliver a great experience and measure the effectiveness with each patient. This could be wait times, forms being filled out before an appointment, no-shows, failed appointments. All of these things contribute to the overall successful experience of your patient, and it's really important that you're purposeful in getting detailed feedback there. You also want to identify different areas for improvement. What is it that your patients thrive at your office? What are the areas of pain throughout your patient journey? How can you as a practice make it better? Now, you may not be able to change everything that's going on, like parking may be limited. However, you can better inform your patients beforehand, which will lead to a better patient experience. So it's not all about solving the problem. Sometimes it's actually about communicating the problem beforehand. And then finally, how do you make sure that happy patients leave reviews online? When patients leave your practice and they are thrilled, how are you getting them to leave reviews on Facebook, Google, other sites? How are you getting them to share that experience with their GP that maybe referred them? It's really important that we are creating clear ways in which customers could share positive experiences and that we're collecting them for future use. So I'm actually going to pass the mic over to Jeff here, and he's going to talk about what we can do with all this great content and reviews and these experiences that we're creating, and how do we leverage them to tell the industry or the market that we have a better experience for them. Jeff, I'll pass it to you now.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. So the main things to keep in mind when we're trying to get lots of reviews for our practice is we want a large volume of reviews, and we want to consistently ask for reviews. Google doesn't like to see like a big burst of 100 reviews 3 years ago and then nothing ever since. It wants to see consistent reviews again and again every week. That looks much more natural. It looks like the business is still open, and patients seem to value this too. There's lots of consumer studies that indicate the timeliness, how recent a review is important. My wife will not stay in an Airbnb that we're looking at on for a vacation if she can't find a recent review confirming that the place is clean and proper and exactly what she's looking for. So it's important to do this, and that's why we favor automatic programs that will just consistently tie into your practice management software and pull your patients every time they come in. Some sort of automated system makes this easier. Another thing you can do is Google, their terms of service, and so does Yelp for that matter, prohibits you from incentivizing your patients to leave a review. So bribing your patients, although it's common, is against the rules, and you're not supposed to do it. Don't get caught if you're doing it. But there's no rule against incentivizing your staff. So we have lots of clients who will just buy a stack of Starbucks gift cards or whatever the local coffee shop is or something equivalent, and they'll just hand the cards out to their staff if they solicit a review successfully from a patient. In the US especially, we have a lot of clients that do that with video testimonials. So on the next slide, this is a pretty typical search for dentist in your city. And you can see at the top, the local search results, the ones next to the map, those are the ones that are really particularly affected by reviews. It's about 20% of the algorithm. And this is one of the main things that you as a practice owner can do to help improve your SEO results. We get asked by our clients all the time, what can we do to help? Please implement a review strategy. And you can see like how many there are, and not necessarily the one with the most wins, but these all have 400 plus reviews. Again, it's a huge factor. So what about more specific searches? Let's say you have a patient who's a little bit nervous and they need a new dentist. And they're scared, but they know they need to see someone, but they're searching from their point of view. So in this case, they're looking for a painless dentist in Temple, Texas. And this is where the reviews can really shine, because you can see on the right, and even in the local map listings itself, it's highlighted words that are either synonyms for the search term or the exact search term. Especially on the right, Efficient, fast, and painless. The staff made my visit painless. I never felt any pain at all. Google's smart enough to figure out the intent of the reviews and link it up to the search term. And that is exactly what this potential patient is looking to hear. So getting these sorts of really in-depth reviews are exactly what we want to do. So how do we get more reviews like that? So here's 2 examples. Both are 5-star reviews, but the one on the left it's rather basic, and the one on the right, wow, this one just makes so much more of an impact, doesn't it? Like, there's lots of specific information. It mentions the dentist. There's lots of detail, and we have lots of consumer data that tell us that people don't quite trust the basic reviews. There is an awareness in the population about fraudulent reviews, and something on the left, or even worse, with no comment at all, looks like it might be suspicious. But the one on the right looks real. They're mentioning the dentist by name. Another thing that surveys specifically tell us makes a review more trustworthy. So this is the review that we want. There's tons of information in here, and much more likely that Google may associate it with a search term, and we get a little bit extra real estate and highlighting on the search result pages. But is it just luck of the draw that we get one good review and one kind of mediocre one? What can we do to improve the odds? Well, it comes down to how we ask. On the left, we have a pretty simple review. It's to the point. But on the right, we're starting to prompt the user, or the patient in this case, to describe their experience in a way that'll benefit the practice a little bit more. We can ask them to explain what services and procedures they had done, who they worked with, how it went, what type of, how do they feel now that it's over. There are lots of little things like this, and you can experiment, especially if you have a program that sends the same message every time. You can try different things and see what works the best for your practice. You might include, a picture of the team, or, mention the dentist name or something like that, just in case they forget. But try to experiment with different review prompts, and I bet you get some better results. So if we've done a good job with our SEO and we've got lots of reviews, then patients are going to come to the site, and we're going to need to convert them. But that's not all. We need to impress Google too. And not only that, the most common action taken, according to Bright Local's consumer study on reviews, after someone reads positive reviews, is they visit the website. For most people, they need to see a little bit more before they make a larger, purchasing decision, like a healthcare, especially with specialists with a lot higher end procedures that are much more involved. There's going to be a little bit more trust that needs to be built. And that's where the landing pages and the website can really come in handy. So we need to make sure they have an excellent experience here and take all the steps that Google wants us to do to impress them. So what do we need to do here? What makes a great landing page? Dental websites have evolved quite a bit since we started out 17 years ago. At first, they were just kind of scanning everybody's brochures, putting them online and calling it a day. And it wasn't until the early 2000s that it really became a new patient source, and we could do search engine optimization and stuff like that successfully. And today, the website can really become a patient hub where all the resources, tools, online forms, other resources, billing links, they can all be integrated into the website itself. And so I'll take you through 3 examples of a good, better, best situation for creating a specific landing page for a given service. So, at least with a good one, we've talked about what the specific service is. A lot of people don't mention all the services they offer. They just assume patients will know. But better, we have it on its own landing page. That gives Google something to link to instead of putting all the services on one page and hoping Google picks the right one when someone's searching for it. Google has a difficulty figuring out what that page is about if it's about everything. Even better is we do have our own landing page, and we've got about 400 to 500 words. Ideally, it's well organized, but now Google has lots of meat to sink its teeth into, and the best possible one will do that. Plus, we have lots of related content, pictures, before and after cases, maybe testimonials and reviews, practitioner descriptions and bios and pictures, maybe even a blog post or 2. Lots of additional information that a patient could use to verify that they're in the right place, and this is a safe choice to make a decision. So let's see what good looks like. Or in this case, not so good. We've got a little bit of information here, but this isn't much to go on, and it has an image, but this does not really feel like an emergency. This family does not look under distress at all. They look like they're having a great time at the beach or something. So it's not really a useful image. It's not really relevant. So what might be a little bit better? Well, in this case, we've got lots of content in here, and it is broken up into sections. So we've got little subheadings in there, which makes it easy to scan, but we don't really have any other supporting information or related content, which is what we need to make it the best. And so this is what we're really looking for. We've got multiple calls to action throughout the site. So right at the beginning, we get right to the point. You have a dental emergency, call us first. Click here and call. Right below, another call to action, and then a couple more throughout the website. There's lots of content broken up with subheadings, and we've got pictures and bios, before and after cases, related FAQs. This is all the stuff that we want to have in a landing page. And if we do this right, this can be the payoff. You can show up first, and if you look for an emergency dentist in Champaign, Illinois, where we took all three of these examples, the one with the proper landing page shows up first, the one that was better shows up in second place, and the one that was not so good shows up in fourth, which is still decent. But remember, this is a zero-sum game, and about a third, a little bit more than a third of all the traffic that comes to a given search result page goes to first place. Second place gets half of that, and by the time you get to fourth place, it's below 10%. If you're at the bottom of the first page, you are barely registering. And if you're on the second page, you probably won't get found. There's an old joke in our industry that the best place to hide a dead body is on the second page of a Google search result. And so we really want to do what we can to really win these contests. And there's lots of little contests. We don't have to freak out if we're not winning, if we're not first for everything. There's 100 or in some cases 1,000 ways to win in a market. But some of these searches, especially for the important services and procedures to your practice, we've got to put in a little bit of extra effort to win these games. So I want to talk a little bit about ChatGPT because this comes up a lot lately. AI tools have become all the rage, and ChatGPT is the most famous and most popular one. And I think these tools can be useful for assisting you in generating some of this content, especially some that I talked about on the previous slides. But there are some things to keep in mind, so let's take a look. So keeping on the theme of dental emergency, we might ask if we have writer's block and we're stuck about, well, what do we even put on this page? We can ask ChatGPT, what questions might somebody have about dental emergency? And this kind of gives you some ideas for how to break down your site into those various subheadings. And then each one of these can become a paragraph that you write about it. What constitutes a dental emergency? Now, you want to rewrite this. People don't generally use the word constitutes. You can say, what makes it a dental emergency? Or, change it to whatever you like. And we do want to rewrite these. I'll talk about that more in a second. But what if we still have writer's block? Well, we can take this a step further, and we can just start reprompting ChatGPT with these individual listings. So if we take one of these subheadings and put it back in, it'll just write the whole paragraph for us. Now, here's where we have to be careful, because this seems a little bit too easy, doesn't it? It's going to just do all the work for us, but there's some problems here. So one, Google has expressly warned against cut and pasting AI-generated content. They've said they don't like it, and we generally don't want to do anything that Google says they don't like. You run the risk of getting blacklisted or omitted from the search results, which is half the reason you're doing this anyway. So if you're going to use these services like ChatGPT, paraphrase and rewrite. The other thing is ChatGPT sometimes tells us blatantly incorrect information or misleading information, which could potentially ruin your credibility with patients if you get caught cut and pasting something that's blatantly untrue. We've done lots of experiments with dental FAQs, and I think in one of them, like a third were incorrect in some way, some like completely incorrect. So ChatGPT can give you a lot of content, but it needs to be reviewed. So use AI tools, but remember, review and rewrite. So if we've done a great job with SEO, we're getting lots of patients that are coming by from around our area, but we're looking a little bit over the horizon into those next towns and wondering, could we attract patients, a little further away? It's hard to do this with SEO because this is against what Google really wants to do. They want to show patients that are super local to you, and it's not natural to, show a dentist in the next town over if you're searching for a dentist in your town. But paid search does a great job of this. And there's a couple different ways we can utilize this. So let's take a look at what a typical search result page looks like. It's broken down into these sections. We have the search query at the top, paid results are up top, then those local listings we saw with the maps and the reviews from before, and then the organic search results are at the bottom. These are the main sections of a search result page. But lately, there's been a major change in the last couple months that Google's introduced, and those are local services ads. I know what you're thinking, couldn't we use some more ads? Google has the answer, it's yes. And these ads were previously available to other professions. HVAC, the legal industry, have used local services ads for years. The main difference is they are pay per lead instead of pay per click. The paid search ads kind of right below that, the paid search results, every time somebody clicks on those, you have to pay a couple bucks. But the local service ad, no matter how many times people click on them, you don't pay until somebody calls or fills out a form. So this kind of has the advantage of moving you a little bit further down the funnel. Now, these are very new for dentists, and we think they're a great option for any practice to consider. There's very little competition. They get better real estate. They're right at the top. And especially if you have lots of great reviews, well, this integrates the reviews into your ads very nicely. So let's take a closer look at what local service ads look like. And there's really not a lot to go on here besides the reviews. It just tells you how long they've been in business, whether or not they're open. And then it really just comes down to the reviews. So having great reviews, and lots of them in this case, is a critical kind of decision point for whether or not you can use local service ads. I think you need to have at least 5 to even get started with this. They are kind of a pain in the neck to get going. Google does a lot of due diligence for this. They do background checks, they check insurance, there's a whole bunch of like business licenses and stuff they do. But the leads right now are coming in around a little over $100 US per like patient call, which is pretty good, especially since we don't have to monkey around with cost per click. We just are paying purely for a patient kind of opportunity. So these are something that I would highly encourage you guys to talk to your marketing company about, or find someone to help you with this. And so if we're trying to compare everything together, we talked about SEO, pay-per-click, and local service ads. How do you choose, or do you need all 3 or a combination of some of them? SEO typically will have the best return on investment, and it is a lot longer lasting, but it also takes the longest to get going. We typically caution clients to commit to like 3 to 6 months mentally before this really starts to take effect. It'll start to work immediately if it's being done well, but it will be about 3 to 6 months before you really start doing well in the searches. It also is a nice foundation for other marketing, because if someone's looking for you, you're easily more findable online if they heard about you on the radio or direct mail or anything else. Pay-per-click is similar to SEO in that we're finding patients who are demonstrating intent. They're typing something into Google and up you pop. It also is nice because we can set this up the same day in some cases, so we get quick results. But we have to pay for this. Every time there's a click, we pay. So it stops work immediately when we stop paying. Same thing goes with LSAs. They're kind of a similar arrangement here to pay-per-click, but they have less competition, and we only pay for the leads. It also takes about 3 to 5 weeks to set up, so it's not instant. So if you have holes in your schedule next week and we need a solution, pay-per-click is the best choice. If we have holes in like the next couple, like 1 to 2 months, LSAs would probably work, especially if we get verified now, and then we can turn them on and off as we need to. And SEO is kind of a long-term marathon type of approach that we want to get started on now if we want to reap the rewards in 6 months. So I hope that gives you guys some background about how we can utilize reviews, how it can help our online marketing efforts, and hopefully you've learned something and you can put this into effect in your practice.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff and Josh. That's some great information on how we can create loyal patients, how we can optimize our online presence, and follow those patients throughout their patient journey. So we are now going to open up to our Q&A section. So if you have any specific questions for Jeff or Josh around patient loyalty, growing your practice, anything along those lines, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. I'm going to take a look real quick and see what we have. All right. The first one I have, it looks like this is probably going to be for both of you guys. Jeff, I'll start with you, and then Josh, I will have you follow up with any additional information. But how can you respond to negative reviews while maintaining professionalism and patient privacy?
We probably get a call like this at least once a week. Somebody's left a terrible review. Sometimes it's demonstrably false, and the doctor's really angry and wants to respond. Be careful not to mention specifics, though. In the U.S., we have HIPAA issues. In Australia, they have OPRA. I'm sure there's similar issues in Canada. You generally don't want to violate patient privacy. So we want to respond with generality. So if somebody makes, even like a false claim, like they just gave me they diagnosed me without giving me an X-ray and then wanted to sell me a crown. This dentist just wants your money. You can respond and say, I can tell you that it's the policy of this office to always take a review before doing a crown. So there must be some sort of misunderstanding, or it's possible you might have found the wrong practice. Please give us a call. So we're not commenting on their case specifically, yet we are. We're saying that what they said is impossible, while not saying that we're not saying no. Look at this picture from your chart, and we post a screenshot. Here's the X-ray right here with your signature. We do not want to do this. We don't want to make any accusations at them. Think about who the audience is. It's everybody else reading this. And there's lots of consumer research that says that patients do pay attention to how people respond, and they're more likely to engage and visit a business that responds to reviews. So respond, but respond with generalities. Don't break the patient confidentiality.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, similar to what Jeff said there, it's really important that you respond, that you make sure that, whatever they're saying, positive or negative, that you are giving it the attention it deserves, because people do watch what the responses are. And, I think the best case scenario, like Jeff's saying here, is you can discredit a false review by generic comments around the policy and how this would be, not possible due to the policy we have in place. But as well, when you have a positive one, it just drives more authenticity, and it makes people feel like you're someone who cares. And so I highly recommend, good or bad, that you do respond, and that obviously you're taking PAPIA, HIPAA, and all the privacy concerns appropriately.
Thank you, guys. All right. Another question that came in. Josh, I'll start with you on this one. What unique marketing strategies can help us build long-term relationships with patients and stand out from our competitors? So I guess anything additional that we've already talked about in today's session?
Yeah, so I think the big one to be kind of as the filter or the lens we solve this problem is understanding who and what is the market we're trying to attract. I've seen for a lot of GPs, community events be a huge driver for patient loyalty and garnering new patients. Young families or even couples or working professionals will go to community events, see who's there, and they want to be involved in the community. They want to support local businesses. And the more visible you are in the community, often the more loyalty and exposure you're going to get. It also leads for social exposure, where you're at a community event with a friend, that you see this dental office booth or this exhibit they have, and your friend tells you they go there, and it's great. It just leads for conversation and being part of the consideration phase in a different way. That's not Google, it's not online, and it's not asking your friends on Facebook. It's actually involved in your local community. We've seen those be super impactful. If you're not a GP and you're doing referrals, maybe it's about creating the best partner referral program. So a lot of GPs are following up manually with oral surgeons with phone calls asking about how the treatment plan is. Well, maybe you provide a really special and unique experience for your referring dentist, which alleviates the need for them to call. However you can help attract patients through your existing channels is going to give you a really good result.
Awesome. Jeff, any tips that you have to add to that?
Yeah, I think newsletters are a good option there for staying top of mind. You can, when in your interactions with patients, you can leave little notes about what they talked to you about or what they mentioned, during even something like minor, like about their son's baseball game or something. You can put a note in their chart to bring it up next time you talk to them. It kind of continues the conversation. It'll help you remember what they said too. They'll also be super impressed that you remembered this, but you had a little help, but that's okay. Use what you can to help you remember these conversations. And everybody wants to have a relationship with their healthcare provider. It's not like you're buying hardwood flooring or bricks in some kind of transactional relationship. A lot of your patients are going to want to come to you for many years. Another thing you can do is sponsor local schools. So a lot of your patients will end up going to the same schools, and you'll have these little referral networks that occur within the school. A lot of the PTA boards would love to sell you a sponsorship package for just a couple $100 in some cases, and that gives you a link, like a banner by the school pickup area. We've run ads around like pickup time for an hour, and made a little box around the school where we would show ads on people's phones just during the pickup area when all the moms are sitting in their car waiting for kids to come out. So that's kind of a way to stay involved in the community, like Josh said, which I like, and also gives you a little bit of bang for your buck with SEO too, for not a lot of money, and may even be tax deductible.
One thing
Awesome.
to also add on to there, Jeff, that you just spoke kind of is, sometimes it's as small as a call script. Having script for your staff to repeat, planting the seed when the patient checks in is like, if we wow you today, would you be willing to share this to your friends and family before they even get their treatment? And then when you follow up and ask them how their treatment was, they say, great, you can now have an intro into, well, how can we help you share this with your friends and family? Often it's about planting that little seed, and people will rise to the occasion and do what you ask when you fulfilled their need. So it doesn't need to be big things. Sometimes it's just remember to say this when a patient checks in.
We constantly hear from practices that the ones that prime patients to leave reviews or mention it at some stage of the experience will have better success.
Great. Thank you both. It looks like that finishes our Q&A section for right now. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up at this time. Thank you again to Josh DeVries and Jeff Gladnick for joining us, and to all of our attendees for making the time to join us today. As a reminder, we'll be sharing this recording with everyone who registered, so keep an eye out in your inbox in the next day or so. And you also will see the email addresses for Jeff and Josh on this screen. If you guys want to shoot them an email if you think of something later on, please feel free to do so. That is jeff@greatdentalwebsites.com and josh@intiveo.com. All right, thank you both again, and we will go ahead and stop recording at this time.